Hey, what's up, everybody? It's just Charles Sabansu, and welcome you guys to another episode of the DREAMERSPRO show. We cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, and entertainment. And we give you guys the first perspective on things and how we see them. And today we got a pretty hilarious show for you guys. But before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. And be sure to hit all notifications to be notified whenever we drop our content. So as you guys know, Stephen A. Smith is a New Yorker. He is from Queens, or Hollis, Queens, where he's from. He doesn't hide the fact that he's a New Yorker, as with most people from New York. If you know anything about New Yorkers, man, they ready to tell you in a quick minute, I'm from New York, I'm from New York, I'm from here, right? And it's somebody that grew up in New York. The general sentiment about a person from New York is that they believe it doesn't get any better than New York City, right? It's the center of the world. And, you know, they feel like New York is the flyest. You know, they got the most style, they got the most swag. They got everything. It's the financial capital of the United States. So New Yorkers have this swagger to them. And another thing you need to know about New Yorkers is that they don't joke with their New York Knicks. They do not joke with their New York. I knew a dude that I used to go to high school with, Cheyenne, and he don't joke with the Knicks. Like every day you see him, not every day, but you always see him in his Knicks jersey, man. He don't play with his Knicks fitted. And that's how New Yorkers get down. You saw when they were playing against the Atlanta Hawks, how they were acting after they just won, the first game. New Yorkers get hype for the Knicks, man. They get hype, and that's the reason why the Garden is always usually packed. Whether the Knicks are good or not, they always find a way to sell out the Garden because of the support that Knicks fans have for their hometown team. So what happened? As you guys know, Stephen A. Smith has always positioned himself as this big New York Knicks fan, right? And whenever something goes down with the Knicks in terms of it being negative, he always gets upset and he's hollering and screaming on ESPN, you know, about the Knicks are going through this and Knicks are going through that, how he's unhappy, blah, 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 blah. So what happened yesterday, during his show on the Stephen A. Smith show, he was doing a show where he was talking about his, at least the team he calls the team he supports the most, the New York Knicks, right? And as he's going through the rundown of the roster, apparently it seemed like as if Stephen A. Smith was even unaware of some of the players that were on the Knicks roster. And this was something that was pointed out actually by a New York basketball page on X, and the name of the page is New York Basketball, or NBA_New York, and they have about 48,500 followers. And they actually clipped this clip of Stephen A. Smith talking about the Knicks, and they're like, I'm looking at Grimes, he looks good. I'm sorry, I didn't mean Grimes. And they posted it basically like, yo, you're always hollering on ESPN about how you're this big Knicks fan and you don't even know our players' names. So that's what we want to actually talk about. But before we even get into that, this video is brought to you by a sponsor, Prize Picks. Prize Picks is really simple. Instead of just selecting a team, you just select two or more players, pick more or less their projected stats, and then you place your entry. For example, this week, I'm selecting two entries. Stephen Curry for more than 25 points, and then I got Anthony Davis for more than 2 blocks, and Damian Lillard for more than 4 3-pointers made. PrizePicks is also the only daily sports platform with an injury insurance policy. So for example, if you have a player who gets injured in the first half and doesn't return to the second half, that player gets automatically rebooted. What I also love about PrizePicks is that it offers weekly promotions like Taco Tuesdays. Each Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value. So go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match of up to $100. That's go to prizepicks.com/CLNS, use code CLNS for a first deposit match of up to $100. And once again, once you support this sponsor, you're supporting this channel. Thank you. So what we want to do is we want to quickly play this audio for you guys to take a listen to it. It's only about 30 seconds, and then we're going to come back and get into the show. Take a listen to Stephen A. Smith here.
I'm looking at Grimes. He's looked good. I'm looking at Isaiah Hartenstein as a reserve, giving you activity off the bench. I'm looking at Mitchell Robinson being here on the court, back on the court. I'm thinking about this. And OG Anunoby is back in the lineup. Still favoring that elbow a little bit, but he's back in the lineup. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean Grimes because I know he got traded.
So you heard what Stephen A. Smith had to say. Why is this important? It's important for two reasons. Number one, the first reason it's important is because Stephen A. Smith gets paid $12 million per annum to predominantly talk basketball, right? And he basically proclaims himself to be the basketball guy at ESPN. That's the first thing. The second thing is you're always hollering about how hype you are about the Knicks and how the Knicks are your team and blah, 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 blah. But it seems like you don't even know some of the players on your team. Now, listen, to be fair, I'm a Clippers fan. And I know the majority of the players on the Clippers roster. Why? Because they're my team. If you ask me about other rosters, I couldn't tell you all the players on the other rosters because essentially you'd be asking me to name all 450 NBA players. Now, if you can name all 450 NBA players in the NBA, fantastic. I'm happy for you. Whatever gives you extra in life, you can go have it. You can go ahead and have it. But even me, right? I know most of the Clippers players. You got Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Mason Plumlee, Ivica Zubac, Norman Powell. I said Kawhi Leonard, Terrence Mann, who else? James Harden, Bones Highland, and I know the majority of Amir Kofi. I know all of them, right? I know all of them, the majority of them, right? And I'm never watching a game, and I'm like, who is that dude, right? But I don't run around hollering and screaming, and do a show every single show whenever the Clippers lose, hollering, I'm a Clipper, no. I'm a Clippers fan. I'm supporting the team, but I don't do it every day, and I don't holler about it. But Stephen A. Smith does. So for you to get called out by a New York Knicks page, I think that they kind of looking at him funny style like, yo, son, I don't believe you're really a New York Knicks fan. I believe that is just something that you can add to your persona on television, that I'm a New Yorker and I'm a Knicks fan. For example, and I'll tell you another reason why. Stephen A. Smith always talks about the teams that he always hopes meets in the finals. What are those two teams? The Miami Heat and the Los Angeles Lakers. Why? Well, we all know why. Because of the women, right? That's the weather, yeah, but he's talking about the women. But if you're a New York Knicks fan, why aren't you always hollering like, yo, I would love it to be in New York. Like, I would love it to be in New York. I would love it to be in New York. Like, that's what a Knicks fan would feel. Now, to me, somebody that I think is a real Knicks fan is Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony was born in Brooklyn, New York. He grew up in Baltimore. At least that's what I know. And I think Carmelo still lives in Brooklyn, if I'm not, or New York at least. I think he does his show out of New York. His name of his show was called, 7 p.m. in Brooklyn. He seems like a real New Yorker through and through. And Stephen A. Smith may just be playing the role of a Knicks fan to kind of generate views and hype him up, and not really be a Knicks. I never heard him once say, oh, I would love it to be New York or whatever. I never hear that. But for you to get called out, by New York Knicks page, they probably looking at you sideways like, yo, I don't really believe that this dude is supporting the Knicks, right? And that's a New York Knicks page, right? So most likely it's New Yorkers that have pointed that out. But if you're going to be hollering every day on ESPN about how much you love the Knicks and how great you think they are, and whenever they lose, you're doing. I personally believe, just by looking at it, I personally believe that he's faking it because his reactions don't seem organic to me. This is just me. I could be 100% wrong. I'm just a person looking at it. It just doesn't seem like for example, when LeBron and the Lakers don't do well, like Shannon Sharp looks generally bothered. With Stephen A. Smith, it seems more like an act to me. I could be wrong. I could be 100% wrong, but that's what it comes off as. Could be wrong, but that's what I think. So what I want to know from you guys is simply this. What do you think about the fact that Stephen A. Smith didn't know this New York Knicks player's name while going around hollering about how much he loves the Knicks? Or do you think that, hey, listen, you're not going to know every single player's name. You're most likely going to know the marquee names like Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, and these guys. And it's just an honest mistake, and we shouldn't hold them accountable for that. Whatever you guys think, Please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section, and we catch you guys on the next show. Peace.